everyone, this is Sean. So this video is about my thoughts on AI, especially where we're at in 2025 and what it will become in 2026. So I launched more than 25 AI projects in 2025. Some of them were open source, which gained me over 1,200 stars. Some others were products that got paying customers. One of them became my current company, Automanus, which even raised some money from a US VC called Character VC, and the partners used to work at Google Venture. I think I personally have followed all AI news in the past year, and I believe that my thoughts on AI could be helpful for you if you're a student or founder or work in tech or thinking about using vibe coding to improve efficiency or just generally curious about AI. Because I think a lot of AI videos out there today were not made by people who are deeply integrating AI into their day-to-day workflows and who have been through a lot of ups and downs. So I'll just be completely honest in this video, and hopefully this could be helpful for you in your career. So the first thing I noticed is that the AI foundation model competition has become really boring. We used to get really excited at the new launch of ChatGPT. I still remember myself getting super excited when GPT 3.5 was launched, and I thought that this was like a complete game changer. We could write emails, we could write code, something that could previously take 2 months to build. Immediately, you can just get it done within 5 minutes. I thought that was really exciting. But in 2025, what you realize is that there are just too many AI models, mainly from the US and China. So in the US, most people just use ChatGPT, Claude for coding, and Gemini these days is becoming more popular. And in China, there used to be this thing called 100 model battle, and now there are like only a handful of major competitors out there on the market. DeepSeek, Doubao, Qwen from Alibaba, AI unicorns called Kimi, GLMs, Minimax, all these competitors. So eventually we realized that everybody is just saying that their model is better at building certain apps, are really good at reasoning, or really good at doing research. I think as a founder or as a student or as a tech worker, we just don't get excited by that anymore. What we're looking into is that is there an app that can help me save some time? Is there an app that can help business make more money? Is there an app that can entertain me? These things are becoming more and more important. I think this trend will continue to be the case in 2026. I'm sure that these companies are going to continue to launch more AI models, but the amount of attention that people pay to these models will not be as high as it was 2 years ago. Okay. And that being said, most of these companies are pouring all their resources into building AI applications because they're not stupid. They raise billions of dollars and they have the top talents in the entire industry. They've got all the smartest minds in the world working for them. They also understand that AGIs cannot be really built by just using LLMs, large language models. It's pretty clear now that most of the companies, even OpenAI, doesn't talk about AGI that much like before. So all of these companies are going to enter search, enter voice, document processing, integration with a lot of the productivity tools. I think these will continue to become the trend in 2026, and it's already happening in 2025. And a lot of startups are dying just because of this. And the second thing is that competition for attention has become the fiercest of all. The really, really interesting pun here is that Attention is All You Need is actually the title of one of the most important papers of AI across human history, which is called Attention is All You Need. And that paper basically introduced the foundation of large language models, which is a thing called transformers. What's really funny is that right now, for any AI founders or tech workers, Attention is All You Need also works in general sense, which is social media or marketing. Why is attention so important? So I joined a couple of startup incubators in the past. I learned these from a lot of wonderful mentors who have spent time with me. And essentially, even before AI, there's this concept called network effect or distribution. These things are super important for applications which are product-led growth, meaning that if your product is great, a lot of people are going to talk about it and a lot of people are going to try it. And these days, this idea still works, but it's just getting more competitive because it's still important for product teams to do crafting on products, but the population of people who can do crafting or high quality crafting has increased significantly as well. Everybody needs attention. That just become a really, really urgent thing for any companies, large or small, to focus on. Even if you're big companies, younger generation might find it really uncool. Corporate people might think that you're just another AI tool that don't understand us. So you really need to find a way to build a target audience. Some really highly respected YouTubers or influencers are becoming founders. It's not that hard for them to raise money. I mean, raising money in general is very hard, but because they have these paying community already, or they have a huge influence on the internet about AI, when they say, hey, I want to build this vibe coding tool, even though there are like maybe another 50 teams doing the same thing, the investors actually invest in them because they feel like, okay, you have proved that you can influence on the internet. You can gather a bunch of people who like your content, who like the way you explain things, who like the products you built. Then we believe that you could turn this into some purchasing power. These people might have their own Discord channel or school or circle. These are all community platforms for social media. Maybe you have 2,000 people in it. If 5% of them paying for a tool for, I don't know, 20 or 50 bucks a month, that's already a sizable amount of income for you to get started with, which the majority of the startup founders today won't even have. Right? And you could argue that this is for B2C, which is business to consumers, instead of B2B, which is business to business. But a lot of the AI tools today, as far as I see, are, there are two ways, right? But the majority of the ways is starting from B2C, gain some popularity out there, gain some traction out there. And then later, these things become your leverage to negotiate with a much larger enterprise who might not trust you if you're just a smaller team with no users or no early tractions. Think of the examples of Figma or Notion. These guys all started with the same things, with individual designers or individual workers who want to boost their productivity. Let's talk about tech jobs. Technology jobs are going to continue to shrink. Let me finish my thoughts before I go away. Tech jobs will continue to shrink because everybody now could do a bit of coding. Everybody now can do a bit of design. For example, in Figma, they have Figma Make. Especially if you're in a smaller company, everybody should actually do a little bit of sales because you should always be talking to customers so that you understand the actual point of why you're building something. You don't want to build something that people don't want. What I observe is that most of the job or positions are unifying themselves. Tech jobs will shrink in terms of quantity, but not quality. The requirement for a person to be employable in the tech industry has completely shifted, even though in some companies it might be slower, in some companies it has already happened in the past 2 years. It is an inevitable trend for the majority of the companies in this world. I think the roles itself would just simply be blurred. It's not as clear as before. Like, for example, when I was working at Google, we had product analyst, data scientist, sales ops, sales strat, product manager, product ops, 10 different sorts of developers, and all sorts of kind of roles. I mean, for a bigger company, yes, that's important, but I'm pretty sure Google will try to blur these jobs in the next 5 years. Eventually, people might just be doing a bit of everything with their own specialization. So if you're working in tech right now, my number one advice is get yourself into vibe coding as soon as possible, even though vibe coding can only solve 90% of the problem. And the last 10% of delivering the product is actually the hardest, but you must onboard yourself to this workflow of you can build anything immediately and turn an idea into reality and actions. And I think this is also the best time for people who really want to dream big and who really have a really strong agency of doing things, because previously, you might be blocked by your security reviews in the company. You might be blocked by not having enough money to hire someone to work on the coding project for you. And now you're not blocked by any of these. All you need is a $20 per month subscription on ChatGPT or Cursor or Claude. And if you're a student right now, either you're in high school or university, I believe that a lot of the homework has already become outdated. I spoke with some professors from MIT and UCL, which I attended, and a lot of students from these universities as well, and even some high schoolers who become founders. A lot of them just tell me that the classes are irrelevant, the lectures are unnecessarily long. A lot of the content that they learn, they just search on AI. Problem sheets-based homework are basically dead, unless you're sitting in an exam room where AI is not connected to it. But what's the point of doing that anymore, right? Because if you're doing some productivity-related jobs or research-related jobs, you must use AI in your day-to-day work. If I were a student, if I were a professor, I think the number one priority is for schools to figure out a way to teach agency or teach the students to find out how to come up with inspirations or motivations to work on something. I think meanings can be created, even though a lot of things seems very meaningless now. The meanings can be created when you realize that you truly want to do something rather than just following the textbook or finishing some exams. I'll tell you an example. Back then when I was studying at MIT or UCL, a lot of the students, after they graduated, they just, including myself, right, for quite some time, we just felt quite lost because all of a sudden We used to be, studying for the exams, and then right after you finish the exam, you just feel like, okay, the goal has been finished. What's next, right? This shouldn't be the case, or we didn't have the luxury to make it not the case back then. Now the luxury is that from the day one of learning something, let's say if you're learning AI or if you're learning engineering, if you're learning design, your goal should just be like, okay, I want to solve a certain problem, or I'm looking forward to solve a certain problem. And what are some of the skills I need? What are some of the AIs that I need to learn to use so that I can reach that goal? After you have this like conversations with the AI again and again and again, you start to develop your own concept of, what is meaningful and what is worth your time being invested in for finishing a project. I think it's harder to describe it in words, but it's better done through experience. And the way to gain experience is to do it. And lastly, about AI startups, I think from a B2C perspective, a lot of people who are interested in vibe coding or AI would try vibe coding like Lovable or V0. And then they realize that after they finish 90% of the project, they cannot launch it. They don't know how to debug something. I think that's a real pain point for these vibe coding apps or these B2C apps who want to get people to use AI, which is a lot of times the majority of the people you're serving are not going to be developers. A lot of people are going to be from design background, are going to be from a business background, are going to want to improve their day-to-day efficiency as a student. So you need to figure out a way to help people to link to databases, set up APIs, teach them how to do these more complicated architecture things. Otherwise, your apps are going to just be for proof of concept. For a lot of B2C apps, I already mentioned that go-to-market is super important because of the fact that if you have one idea, there could be another 100 people doing it. B2C still has a lot of great opportunities to be explored, especially now AI has completely changed how people do things, how people work, how people build things. I think B2C will continue to be booming, but the competition will be completely different to the next level. Think about how you're going to catch attention, how you're going to deliver fast. That's the most important thing. And also think about what people are struggling with when they're using your tools and how can you educate them to move to the next level. For B2B, I think most of the B2B companies who are doing AI are becoming some sort of consulting services like Palantir or Sierra AI. They all do these things called forward deployment engineer. My understanding of forward deployment engineer, which is a very hot term in Silicon Valley, is you must understand how an enterprise business is struggling with their current problem and what tools they're using. Inevitably, you need to put some time to learn about their workflows, be in their company, and even if it's sometimes just a case-by-case situation. This is not recommended back then because every company has limited resources. But now, since shipping a product is so easy, iterating is so easy, the competition has brought us to a situation where people must become more agile and forward deploying things for your consumers, for your enterprise customers, during which you're pretty much a consultant. I'm not saying this is bad. I just think that this is a new trend for a lot of B2B SaaS companies, and don't feel discouraged by that. It actually requires a lot of very strong communication skills and outcome-driven mindset. And I think that's what's going to keep your company really competitive in the next few years. Fundamentally, a lot of the B2B SaaS companies are becoming AI agent builders because they realize that a lot of the demand from companies are a case-by-case situation. And you might have some infrastructure of agents that can serve a generic problem, but then you need your consumer to configure it so that it's more customized to their problems. And I think that's something that a lot of these B2B SaaS companies need to figure out, including ourselves, right? We're building an AI sales leads management tool for customized goods. And essentially, they need to configure how they want to set up agents to communicate with their consumers and turn it into structured leads. Around this time, the challenge for us is how do we make sure that the agent configuration platform is so easy to use so that nobody needs to struggle with the things that a lot of the developers are struggling with. So I think that's a challenge and it's an opportunity for B2B sales. I know I talked a lot, but literally this is how I felt for 2025 after building this many projects. And now I'm completely focused on building automanas for AI sales leads management. So if you're interested in this tool, please let us know. I'm happy to have a chat with you. And I believe that most people can actually reach their goals much faster than ever before. All you need literally is just a mindset of building fast, understanding what people need, and be honest with yourself. And at the end, learning by doing. So I hope this video was helpful. And if you have any thoughts, please leave a comment down below. And we'll love to catch up with you next time. Thanks.